Welcome to the Healing While Discovering Yourself podcast. I'm your host, Andrea Michelle. I'm an intuitive transformational coach, certified life coach, certified NLP practitioner, and speaker. I've spent the last 22 plus years helping myself and my clients learn how to create their own happiness and live more abundant lives. In this time, I've also overcome and healed from child sexual molestation, a compulsive eating disorder, hunger, and homelessness. Now it's your turn to move forward with your life and heal from childhood traumas or past experiences. In this podcast, I'll share how I was able to overcome all of my past struggles, as well as my personal stories of overcoming jealousy, loneliness, resentment, and bitterness, and how I learned to forgive. I'll also help you explore your shadow self, deal with having low or no self-esteem, and address feelings of not being worthy or loved. Using my personal experiences and extensive training, as well as stories of grief, loss, depression, and anxiety from my guests, I'll help you change your life and finally heal. Hey, loves. Welcome back to the very first episode of the Healing While Discovering Yourself podcast in 2022. And if you are new here, you have never listened to a podcast episode before, welcome. I am so glad that you are here. I'm so glad you decided to hit play. I'm so glad you decided to listen, to take a chance. And more importantly, I'm so glad that you decided that healing is something that you want to give yourself in this new year in 2022. It's been a minute since I actually recorded a podcast episode, and that was done intentionally and on purpose. Because if you don't know, I am in school working on my PhD in developmental psychology. And there are a bunch of other things that I've been working on that really deserved my time. And not only that, I started to record some episodes of the podcast last year. And as I sat down to record them, it felt like I was doing it out of a sense of obligation. And I never want to do something because I feel obligated to do it. I always want to do things from a place that is authentic and in alignment. And when I would sit down to record the podcast episodes, I felt like I was recording them, just because I had this podcast episode and I had to, and it was the right thing to do. When the reality is that I didn't have to do them, right? And there's no such thing as it was the right or the wrong thing to do. Like that wasn't real. And so that was a story I was telling myself. And so I decided to take a break from recording podcast episodes. I think the last one out there was maybe October, November. I can't remember. But I did make the conscious effort to not do it. And I said, you know what? We're going to bring the podcast back, or the episodes, because the podcast never went anywhere. There's still 47 other episodes to listen to. But I said, you know what? We're going to start with a clean slate in 2022. And I also want to slightly shift the direction of the podcast, where we're still going to be talking about healing, but I really wanted to add more structure and really talk about things that get to the heart of the matter, right? So today's podcast episode is, self-care is recognizing your own cognitive dissonance. And I think this is an important topic because over the last few years, we've been hearing a lot about cognitive dissonance, right? And the way that it's been framed has made it seem like only people who have these extreme views can be cognitively dissonant, right? And with me working on my PhD and really spending more time with myself and just learning so much and being a part of a scholarly community, my mind has just been blown. And so one day maybe y'all don't know, if you don't follow me on social media, I guess you don't know this, but I have been on this extreme personal health journey because I felt like something was off in my body. And I decided that I was going to really pay attention and invest in my health, because health really is wealth. It doesn't matter how powerful, confident, strong I think I am. If my physical body is not healthy, then I'm really not going to be helpful to anyone. And so I just felt intuitively that I really needed to put a focus on it. And so I did, reached out to this wellness spa, and we did some blood work. And I found out that I was severely malnourished. Now, you may look at me and think, oh my gosh, girl, ain't nothing malnourished about you. Because I got a little meat on my bones. But the truth is, or the truth was, is that I was extremely malnourished. Like, the blood work doesn't lie. The numbers don't lie. There were some numbers that were extremely low, so much so that my practitioner said that if one of my numbers had been 1 point lower, then if I would have been in a hospital, I would get a blood transfusion. Like, that's how malnourished I was, right? So that's just the backstory. So I'm on this wellness journey. I get up every morning I actually wake up at 4:20, and then I hit the snooze button for 10 minutes, and then I get up at 4:30, and I give myself that 10 minutes to just kind of, acclimate to being up. So I get up at 4:30 and I practice mindfulness meditation. I journal, I pull a card, and then I come down to my home gym and I work out for at least 45 minutes to an hour every day. So one day I went to Walgreens and I'm walking in the store, and all of a sudden I see demint turtles. If you don't know what demint turtles are, like, go to Walgreens website and like put it in there or Google it. These things are actually, I realize now that they don't taste as good as they did as I remember growing up. But growing up, these were my mom's favorite candy, and she very rarely let us have any. And when she did let us have any, we would have to like split it. But these things back in the day used to be so good. So I'm in Walgreens on my health journey, picking up something, right? And then I see these turtles, and they're on sale. There's like 2 boxes for like $7. And now 1 box is like $6. So I was like, oh my gosh, right? So I grabbed these 2 boxes. I'm in the store with these 2 boxes, the big boxes, not just the small boxes, the big boxes of turtles. And I'm like, oh my gosh, these are going to be so good. And I don't know what triggered the thought, but as I was walking to the register, I looked and I was like, wait a minute. I am saying that I want to be healthy, and, I was malnourished. I'm now eating properly, better foods, that really nourish my body. And I know, standing in this store, that these turtles, chocolate covered processed turtles, are no good for me. And it was in that moment, I was like, wow. So I have thoughts about this, and my thoughts are differing in that moment from the behavior that I have. This is cognitive dissonance, simply put, right? I am being cognitively dissonant. There's this disconnect between what I believe about a thing and my behavior. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I actually sat with that for a couple of days. And I was like, how many people, again, in recent news, we've been talking about cognitive dissonance, for the last few years. And it's been about these extreme views, people who have these extreme views, doing something, voting for someone, knowing that this person is no good for them. They're cognitively dissonant, or here's some information they need and they know it's right, but they're still going against it, right? And while that is true, and that is the case, all of us experience cognitive dissonance every once in a while. Every single last one of us, because we are human. So I just want to take some time to really talk to you about what cognitive dissonance is, and why we engage in it, and share with you some examples of cognitive dissonance and how you can identify cognitive dissonance and how you can mitigate or lessen or alleviate, cognitive dissonance in your life. And I will say this, one of the things that I decided on for 2022 is that I don't want these podcast episodes to be no more than, 10 to 20 minutes. Like that's the range. And so whatever I don't finish in a podcast episode, I am going to be talking about it live in my Facebook group by the same name, Healing While Discovering Yourself. So if there is something, an episode that I'm talking about, then I want you to join me live for Coffee Talks with Andrea in my Healing While Discovering Yourself healing community on Facebook. And we'll put the link in the show notes because this is an important topic and I want to take my time with it. And I also want to make sure you have a really good understanding of what cognitive dissonance is. So first of all, just a little background. Y'all know I'm working on my PhD and everything. So I got a little extra information for y'all. Y'all probably like, Andrea, we do not want to be schooled. Actually, I know you don't want to be schooled, but I think this information is important for you to have a better understanding as you move forward in life on your healing and your self-discovery journey. So, cognitive dissonance, I actually didn't know what it meant until a few years ago, right? I wasn't the scholar, didn't read, I read what I had to read, nothing more, nothing less. But cognitive dissonance, the term or the concept was actually developed in 1957. Okay. And what cognitive dissonance is it's a discomfort that is caused when two cognitions, right, when they conflict or when our behavior conflicts with our attitudes or our beliefs about something. And so the cognitions that we have or the things that can conflict, we can have conflicting actions, conflicting beliefs, ideas, values, things in our environment, right? And what's important to understand about cognitive dissonance is that it's not automatic. Right? It's not something that you experience just because you have two conflicting beliefs or conflicting attitudes or whatever. The thing about it is that, you must have an awareness of the inconsistency to feel discomfort, right? And so we so quickly say that some people are experiencing cognitive dissonance just because their attitudes and their behaviors conflict. But if that person, if that individual, if we aren't aware that we hold these conflicting beliefs or attitudes, then we are not going to experience cognitive dissonance. And that's important for you to understand, not just about yourself, but about others on this healing journey. Because, I know we say hurt people. And if y'all been listening to me for a while, you know that I believe that healed people heal people. And so when we look at things from a healed place, or when we have information that is healing, then we look at people differently. And so it's important to understand that just because you can see that someone's attitudes and belief, they seem diametrically opposed, that person may not be aware of it, right? And when we're not aware of it, when they're not aware of it, then they don't feel any discomfort, right? They don't feel anything. They don't recognize that they are cognitively dissonant. It's the same thing with me when I picked up the chocolates, at Walgreens. If you don't know, I used to struggle with a compulsive eating disorder. And so a part of that is not just eating compulsively, but it's like seeing something. And just because I see it, I'm buying it and I want it. Right. And so part of that compulsion had crept up in me. As you know, I always say I'm on the healing journey and I never proclaim to be perfect. I'm perfectly imperfect, right? Perfectly flawed. If you want to use me and perfectly together, perfectly flawed, perfectly imperfect, right? So that compulsion to do it, but it wasn't until, and again, I wish I remember what the thought was that even brought that to my attention, where it's like, wait a minute, healthy? You believe that you're healthy and you want to live a healthy life and eat healthy and all of these things. And yet you're buying all of this processed food, not just one box, but two. And I know myself, I could probably eat those 2 boxes in like 3 or 4 days. I mean, they only give you like 8 or 9 of them in a box. So it's not like they give you a lot of them, right? So it's important to understand that we have to have an awareness of our conflicting cognitions in order to even feel the discomfort of our decisions, right? And so again, that's important for you to understand. So, why do we engage in cognitive dissonance? It's important to understand that the dissonance is most painful when we are motivated to reduce it, right? When one of the dissonant cognitions, when it challenges our self-esteem, right? So in other words, it's not just any kind of inconsistency that causes dissonance, but it's, actions or beliefs that challenge our self-worth. And I want you to understand that it has to challenge your self-worth. It has to challenge how you feel about yourself. And so perhaps in that moment, I thought about myself and what I wanted to look like and where I wanted to go and the size or whatever. And I looked at it like, whoa, buying all of this chocolate is inconsistent with my value of my health, right? And so it has to challenge the conflict. It has to challenge your sense of self-worth. So when you see people and they have these conflicting attitudes, the reason why they could be okay with it is because it doesn't necessarily challenge their sense of self-worth. Now, it could be that they feel worthless, and that's why they engage in that behavior. And in that case, where they feel worthless, that's all the more reason for you to show empathy and show compassion towards them, but not just even towards them, but also show it towards yourself, right? Show it towards yourself. So there's some factors, right, that really affect our degree of cognitive dissonance that we experience. And, one of the factors is, the type of beliefs we have, right? Beliefs that are more personal to us lead to more significant dissonance, right? So the more personal the belief is, the greater the discomfort that you're going to feel. And also the value of your beliefs, right? Beliefs that people that you hold in high regard cause greater dissonance. And lastly, it's the size of the disparity. A substantial disparity between conflicting and harmonious beliefs will cause dissonance. So it matters how you feel about something that creates the degree of dissonance or disconnect that you may be feeling at any given moment. And so some examples of cognitive dissonance, if you will, because a lot of y'all are probably sitting here like, okay, but what do you mean? Can you give me some examples? Well, if you wait a minute, if you hold on a second, I will give you some examples of cognitive dissonance. So a great example, I think, and one a lot of people understand is, when you claim to love animals and you hate the killing of animals, but yet you still eat meat, right? That's an example of cognitive dissonance, right? Another example is, you say that you believe in honesty and you love an honest person, yet you lie, right? That's cognitive dissonance. Or, talking about being environmentally friendly or conscious and all of those things and not buying a fuel efficient car, right? And of course, the way that we justify things like that is, I can't afford, a fuel efficient car, right? But even if you can't afford a fuel efficient car, You can support policies that do support the environment, but some people claim to be environmentally friendly, and they don't even support the policies that will create an environment or a situation where it is friendly for an environment, right? Another common one is, smoking. When you know of all the health issues. Now, I know that nicotine is addictive, and I know there are a bunch of other things that are attached to it. And that can be true while you can be cognitive dissonant, right? Smoking, you have this addiction, and you know that it has adverse effects on your health. That's cognitive dissonance, right? Or choosing to promote a behavior like exercise, hey, and not practicing it. Although I do practice exercise. I do promote health. I believe in being healthy. I believe that health is wealth, and I do exercise. However, eating 2 boxes of Demit turtles is not. That was cognitively dissonant. Right. And you call that hypocrisy, right? When you say, oh, I believe, that people should work out every day, or like my thing, I really fundamentally believe in mindfulness meditation. I practice mindfulness meditation every day. I have a 10-week mindfulness meditation mentorship that I teach people, right? And if I promoted those things and I didn't practice it myself, then I would experience a degree of cognitive dissonance depending on how much I valued the dissonance, right? And so it is so vitally important to just understand that. So I think this podcast episode has gone on long enough. I said I only want to keep it between 10 to 15 minutes. So what I am going to do, I would love for you to join me in my private Facebook healing community. It's called Healing While Discovering Yourself for Coffee Talks with Andrea on Friday. And we are going to talk about how to identify cognitive dissonance and how to mitigate cognitive dissonance. That being said, as I end this, I want you to know recognizing your own cognitive dissonance is a part of your self-care. And I've shared with you in this episode what cognitive dissonance is, why we engage in cognitive dissonance. And I shared some real life, real world examples of cognitive dissonance. So until we meet again on Friday in the Facebook group, Healing While Discovering Yourself for Coffee Talks with Andrea, I want you to consider some of the things in your life, some of the cognitions that you have that are conflicting, and how you yourself have been cognitively dissonant. And then we'll come together in the Facebook group. It's a time I'm going to go live. You can ask questions and I'll answer your questions. And again, share how you can identify cognitive dissonance and how to mitigate cognitive dissonance in your life. So thank you so much for taking the time to listen and for being here. But just understand that self-care is not just about the manicures and the pedicures and the massages and going on vacations, but it really is recognizing your own cognitive dissonance, sitting with the places and the areas in your life where you can improve. And I believe all of us have areas of improvement. All right. So thank you so much for being here. And I will see y'all in the Facebook group. Until next time, just know that the love in me salutes the love in you. Bye. Hey loves, are you looking for a safe place to hang out while you're healing with other like-minded individuals? If so, then I would love for you to join my private Facebook community called Healing While Discovering Yourself, named after the podcast. This community is for those who are truly seeking a safe place to heal and also show up authentically. If this interests you, then I'm going to invite you to go to Facebook/groups/Healing While Discovering. I look forward to seeing you in the group. What would you do if you knew that in 5 minutes you could take back control of your life, calm your nerves, and shift into your power? You would take advantage of that offer, wouldn't you? Well, I would love to share with you my proprietary The More method. It's a method that I use every day to help me take back control of my life and master my inner world. See, I don't know if anyone has ever told you, but you are not just a physical being. You are not just a spiritual being, you are a multi-dimensional being. And that means that you are spiritual, you are mental, you are emotional, and you are physical. The More method is designed to help you truly take back control of your life and master your inner world, every area of your inner world, so that you can show up authentically and unapologetically. Go to themoremethod.co. Again, that's themoremethod.co to download the video and amazing guide to show you how to take back control of your life and master your inner world in as little as 5 minutes a day.